Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here today with our friend Angie Weinberger, founder and managing director at Global People Transitions. Angie, how are you doing today?
Hi, Ben. It's 10 p.m. here, so this is way beyond my bedtime, but I'm keeping alive because I was looking forward to this.
We
Staying
cannot
alive.
afford to have a show where someone does not stay alive. We've gone 500 episodes and no one has died on the show, so please stay alive, Angie.
Trying hard.
Angie, you say it's 10 p.m. Thank you so much for being here late at night with us. Where in the world are you, Angie?
I'm in Zurich, and that is in Switzerland, not Sweden. This is a Swiss-German place where we speak Swiss-German. I'm originally German. So that is like two different languages, to be honest.
So you're originally German and you're in Switzerland, and we've got people checking in here. Get in the comments. I want to know who you are, where you are. Are you in Switzerland? Are you in Germany? Are you in the United States? I want to know where you are. We got people checking in. Speaking of which, we got Johanna Lindstrom over here.
Hi,
Good
Johanna.
seeing you 2 days in a row, Angie. Johanna, where in the world are you right now? Because I know she'd moved around over the last couple of years as well. She's in Basel. Very cool. Another Swiss friend there. And you just saw Johanna, it sounds like.
Yesterday.
Awesome. We like her. She's a friend of the show here. And Nori from sunny Boston. I know where that is. That's here in the States. Keeping it easy for me. I appreciate that. Lisa Conti checking in from DC. What's up, Lisa? Good to see Lisa here. We got super producer Adam Sotelo checking in. I've always wanted to visit Switzerland. Adam, where do you want to visit in Switzerland? There's lots of parts. Zurich with Angie, he says. Angie, I've never been to Switzerland. I want to go to Switzerland. I've got clients in Basel. I've got friends in Geneva. Now I got friends in Zurich. Where should I go?
High time. There's a lot to see. But obviously, one of the things that you need to come to is the Zurich Film Festival.
Ooh.
Usually end of September, early October.
Okay, I have a very silly question to ask. You're going to find that this show is 90% silly questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I come to the Zurich Film Festival in this amazing hypothetical vacation that I'm taking. What language are most of the films in?
That totally depends. It could be Iranian, which is actually Farsi, but then they would have English subtitles. So you would be able to understand everything, because despite the fact that this is not officially an English-speaking country, we have a very large expat population and everything is translated into English with subtitles. You just have to be a good reader.
So English subtitles.
No problem at all. Yeah.
And
in the restaurants, people will understand you because we don't even know where they're from. If they serve you and speak German, it's a miracle.
All right, this is good. Now you're on to my second favorite topic, restaurants. Okay. Get in the comments here. I want to know, hit that like button also. If you've ever been to Switzerland, where have you visited? I want to know, what do you think is the place I should go in Switzerland? Now, I did stop in Switzerland in Zurich's airport. I was taking a flight to Heathrow, or no, was it Spain? I forget where I was going. Anyway, point being is I was in the Zurich airport for a few hours. I did enjoy it. One of the most beautiful, clean airports I've ever been in. It was also the only airport I've ever looked out the window and it was beautiful outside. Rolling hills, green mountains. I mean, absolutely breathtakingly stunning. Here in the States, you look out the window of an airport and it's very bleak. It's not nice. So I toyed with the idea of leaving the airport and going to get some Swiss food. I didn't know if I was going to make it back through security in time. What should I eat if I go to Switzerland, Angie?
So, the typical thing that you would do as a tourist, I think, is Swiss cheese fondue, if you like cheese.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think that is something you just need to do once in your life, at least. I try to do it like once a year because it's just a part of, winter. Other than that, you can get any type of food here. Like yesterday, we had Indian food, obviously.
Sure.
Because I love Indian food.
So when you have the fondue, and I promise we're going to get to global mobility topics, people, just hang in there. I promise. But when you do fondue, and I've done it
Uh-huh.
times, what do you dip? What is the traditional thing to dip in the fondue?
Again, there are different philosophies. I would go with the philosophy, that you need to have like a glass of white wine next to you, and then there's the Kirsch schnapps, which is very strong, and then you can dip your bread in the schnapps before you dip it into the cheese, and that's just because it's better for your digestion.
Oh, of
It's
course.
not because of the alcohol and all the involved fun that you're going to have afterwards. It's just to help your digestion.
I appreciate you looking out for
It's
me.
health advice.
I look like a person that does not digest their food very well, I think. This sounds exciting to me. I'm looking forward to this hypothetical vacation or perhaps business trip over there. We've got Camilla checking in. Hi from Greece. This might be one of the first times you had someone from Greece checking in. That's awesome.
I
Drew
bring you the
Phillips.
world.
I love it. Can't wait. Let's see. Drew says, thank you for staying alive, enjoying the episodes. I ride the BART back from a lunch appointment in San Francisco. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you, Drew, out in San Francisco. We got Canada in the house here. Robert Dorzio. That's great. Love it. Nori says, can you smile when you say Boston? Nori, I've been to Boston. I can't smile when I say Boston. Just kidding. Boston's fine. I grew up in New York, so we have a little animosity there. He's saying Zurich Lake is the place to go. Very nice. Now, Richard's always hopping in here with a little German here. What is Richard saying to us,
Guten
Angie?
Abend
Please.
zusammen, liebe Grüße aus London. Basically, yes, hello and nice and greetings from London. Good German. Well done, Richard.
Nice job, Richard. Jillian Guzza been dying to visit. Yeah, we got to get some clients out there. We'll go see it.
Conference.
Yeah.
Maybe my book launch party, 26th
book
September.
Launch party. Let's do this. Let's hop into. Let's talk about the book launch here. And shout out to Jillian, by the way, who's celebrating her 1-year anniversary today at GLOMO. So thank you, Jill, for your service. Appreciate you. Tell me about the book, though, Angie. This is so exciting for you.
Yeah, so I'm ready to publish my 4th book, which is called The Global Rockstar Album, 21 Verses to Find Your Tact as an Inclusive Leader. I know it's a mouthful and it says everything. It's basically a book for managers like yourself, people in midlife. I'm estimating you're in midlife. And
I feel like I'm getting generalized here quite a bit.
Who
Yes,
want to become
40.
Inclusive leaders. Yeah, that's midlife.
I'm 40 and I need to become a better leader.
Exactly in the target group. I don't know. Maybe you're probably an amazing leader already. But this is for people who feel like something is not good, whatever. I feel something is off. I'm stressed. I'm at the end of my next expat assignment. I don't know where to go next. I don't know what to do next. I don't know what my purpose in life is. So people, start asking these questions usually around your age. And then they do something. And then they should read my book and work with it.
So what inspired you to write this book?
I could say now my life story, but that's not true. It's basically the work with a lot of expats and managers leading global virtual teams, the pandemic, like all the things that have happened in the last few years that also, I would say, created a bit of a negative feeling for everyone. Everybody was exhausted. Mental health has gone down globally. And I thought, we need to start somewhere, helping more people getting better. So this book is basically a self-help book, and it starts with some basics about well-being, and then also about becoming a more inclusive leader, giving psychological safety to people, making sure that everybody's heard, and giving also a chance to people who are normally a bit more marginalized. So that's, what inspired me, basically.
I like this premise here. And so I tend to enjoy self-help books and professional development books. What makes this book different?
So first of all, the fact that it's written like a song. because, it's for rock stars, and we want expats to be rock stars. And so I wrote the book in a song structure. It has verses, it has a refrain, an intro, an outro. There's a guitar solo. So it has a bit of a different, let's say, style. It's also very, let's say, action oriented. So, like we don't pack a lot of theory in it. The theory you can read if you want. We give some additional resources. It's very action oriented. So every verse has basically 5 beats, and those 5 beats then follow with a repetition and a pause. So it's, it's attacked, basically. The song, like every verse is attacked. So it can be read fast, and it can be acted upon fast. And
like it.
People like us, we don't have a big attention span anymore. We're very busy all the time. So you normally don't pick up a self-help book where you have to go through 20 pages. Yeah. You want to get the gist fast, and then you want to act and maybe be supported by a coach, but not necessarily. We also give extra support through an app. So people also get my support. And I coach them basically online, and they can also book a session with me if they feel really stuck.
Wow. Yeah, this is really interesting. I have a lot of questions about this, and people are checking in here. Hit that like button, get into the comments. I want to know what your questions are for Angie. Angie Weinberger here. Global People Transitions is the name of her company. She's talking about her new book, which is coming out, her 4th book, which is incredible. And Johanna says, I am one of the lucky few to have read The Global Rockstar. It's great. Get your copy now. It makes you reflect on so many topics, and it will take you to the next level on management. I have so many questions about this, but Angie, you said your book is launching. When will it be available for us?
So if all goes well, on the 28th of September.
20. So we're like a month out right now.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic it's going to happen.
How can people get a copy of it come the 28th?
We're selling through Amazon. And we also, we have a website where you can check for pre-orders. But usually we sell all the books through Amazon.
I want to ask you, talk about, you kind of keep coming back to this theme of being an inclusive leader.
Mm-hmm.
What's one of the mistakes that leaders make that makes them maybe fall short of being inclusive?
Yeah, so
a question I ask myself all the time.
Yeah, I think it's a very important question to everybody to ask themselves. And I also think, I was also in a managerial role before I started my own business, and I probably also fell into this trap. That, at a certain stage of your career, when you have reached a certain level, you think you know exactly what to do and your way is the best way. Yeah. And you stop listening to your team. Yeah. I mean, I have some great people on my team, and sometimes they drive me crazy with their detail orientation, or, with their speed, or with, their area of expertise, but I need to listen to them. And that is something, leaders need to learn. And they also need to learn to include people that are maybe a bit different from them, and to attract people that are not exactly like them. We tend to hire all these mini-me's, and we tend to prefer the people that are very similar to us, have a similar style. So if you want to have a truly creative band, like, let's say Queen, a band that creates magic, a kind of magic,
right?
I think we need to have different people that, that drive each other crazy, but also, help each other get to the next level. And yeah. At the end of the day, you can only do this as a leader if you start questioning your own way a little bit, at least.
I got a couple more questions about this whole, like, being an inclusive leader. And I want to ask the folks who are watching right now, because we got some incredible people checking in here. Lisa checking in, Richard, Olivia. This is great. Travis here. I want to ask you out there who are watching this show right now, as a person who's been on a team, maybe everyone hasn't been a leader, but we've all been team members. What is that thing that a leader's done for you that's made you feel included? That's made you feel like an inclusive environment's been created? What is that feeling like to you? I want to hear just your stories. And this is the beauty, Angie, of having this kind of a platform where we can include the voices of the crowd here. So I'd love to know what you think. Christina out there, Christina back from first day of school pickup, tune in for Fondue Talk. Thank you. That's great. That's fan or raclette. Yeah, very good. I want to hear what your thoughts are about it. People are saying 40 has been busy. Life starts at 40. I hope you're right. That's great. I'm going to ask you, Angie, while people kind of come into the comments and answer that questions, what's made you feel included, or what's made an environment feel inclusive to you? What's that balance like, though, between hiring, mini me's, and surrounding yourself with kind of the same type of people, and going? Is there such a thing as too diverse? Is there such a thing of having too much difference so that it becomes dysfunctional?
I think, diversity also needs to be managed, obviously. So that's why now, we often speak of inclusion and not only of diversity. One of maybe the examples I can remember from my corporate career was one of my managers who just basically trusted me and, sent me to India on a short-term assignment to basically run a project for her. And like that feeling that she would say, you know what you're doing, you just report back to me if you see any red flags or issues. Yeah. That feeling of trust and giving the other person, the benefit of the doubt. I think that's a rare gift. She was an amazing leader.
How did she
I don't
do
think
that?
I don't think you see that a lot.
How did she do that in a way, though, that also allowed you to feel supported?
I think it was always clear that if I needed her, I could always reach out. We had regular conversations too, like a regular one-on-one. But also, when, let's say, things got really rough on the ground, she came for 3 weeks. She was like, okay, I'm packing, I'm coming. Tell me what we need to do here. And she was there. And I think, a good leader is also someone who knows when to strengthen the back of the other person. Like in that phase, when she came, I was not feeling well. I had like stomach problems or whatever. But she was there, strengthened my back and said, you know what, despite of this, you still do a good job, So yeah. I don't know. I think it's as a rare quality and it's undervalued, but a really good leader, I think they know how to, give you a long leash, but also strengthen your back when you need it.
Love it. Love it. I love that. I love that. That's great. Give you leash and yet be there when you need support. Richard says, I think leaders should be good at handling the team when one person makes a mistake and lets down the team. The leader can help the person cope with the mistake and help the rest of the team support them rather than react against them. Interesting. Yeah, really interesting. I want to talk a little bit here. I want to go back because here you are, you've written 4 books, you're an entrepreneur, you founded this company, and I want to know, before maybe Global People Transitions, how did you find yourself here?
So how did I get into global mobility, interculturalism, and all of these topics?
Yes.
I think it started with moving from where I originally grew up to another place because of my parents' job. Even though this was not an international move, it was still a far move. And as a 7-year-old, being in a place where you don't really understand how people are talking, where you're away from your family, this is like a first expat child experience. And then I remember I met a girl from the UK and we started to write letters. And I was always fascinated by this intercultural exchange. We went to France when I was in 8th grade. I went on holidays. I was always very happy when I was traveling. Like, I associate happiness with traveling. So I think that's why I got into it at the end of the day, like because of the basic feeling of, the big wide world, talking to people from other cultural backgrounds in different languages, not being able sometimes to express something in a language, but still having a feeling that you can build a bridge. That was a very strong feeling also in university, like when we started to do student exchanges. I know you're a bit younger than me, so when I was at university, the whole Eastern Bloc came down. So we would travel to Slovakia for the first time, or Czech Republic, and speak to people that had never before met somebody from Germany, or we met people from Poland that thought all Germans are bad people. And we started to build bridges one-on-one. And I think that started my interest in the intercultural field.
That's really interesting. You mentioned that like in Poland, there was this maybe prejudice against Germans. Was there a lot of that kind of prejudice and discrimination at that time?
And I think it was just transported trauma from grandparents, which is completely understandable if you know about our history.
No.
And what really helped me is to make that connection with people one-on-one, and to show them we're also students like you. We're also dealing with this trauma and with this guilt, and now our generation can make a new start. Like when we went to school, we were looking forward to the European Union. We were looking forward to the euro, and to really coming together as a community, because that was also a sign of peace and understanding. So I think that has probably changed a bit, but this is the time I grew up in.
Yeah. No, I imagine some of your experiences being excluded are probably some of the reasons that you became also kind of fascinated with creating inclusive environments too.
And I didn't mention that I was named after Angela Davis. Maybe you heard of her.
Yeah, no, I have heard of Angela Davis. Yeah, that's a cool thing. So now, that's interesting. So very kind of multicultural here. And Richard's saying, here's me, Polish dad and German wife. Oops. Oh man. There's a joke in there, Richard. Let's see here. Jason checking in from USI Law. What's up, Jason? From the Beltway there. Let's see here. Travis talking about inclusive environments. He says, it happened to me when I was leading a service department and I was on vacation and got a call from someone, he's referring to me actually, advising I should transition to sales under him. I did, and was given the opportunity to create an email campaign for sales, and eventually became a permanent department within the organization. I was empowered, trusted, and supported. Thanks, Travis. That's pretty cool. And Travis and I worked together at 3 different companies.
Oh, amazing.
Something's got to work there. Yeah. So interesting. So that's where you fell in love, with travel and speaking a language. That's where you fell in love with the interculturalism. And I understand the desire to feel included, and why the kind of the study of inclusion kind of is the thread there. How did you get into forming your own company, though? I always find the entrepreneurial journey to be a fascinating one. What was that spark for you?
So first of all, I think this was also something I always wanted to do. Like I basically had this company already in my mind in 1996. Wow. I just didn't dare to get started right from university. Like I thought, oh, maybe I should go out into the real world first, get some real life experience before starting my consulting business in global mobility.
Do you think that was the right decision, looking back on it?
In hindsight, I think so, yes. I think it was good that I had a corporate career, corporate life, and I also, know the reality on the ground, like, what it means to work in global mobility as a global mobility manager, for example. And that I took the route that I took, I think that was absolutely right. So the idea was already there very early, but I lacked a bit the real life experience. And then when the time came, when I had my midlife crisis, I decided, okay, instead of, having a family, what sort of my plan was originally, I'm now just going to start my own company.
Yeah. That's cool.
And by the
Was
way,
that scary? Was that scary for you?
Yeah. I mean, I was terrified, obviously. But there actually is a book. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And one of my managers gave that to me. And then I thought, oh, it's just fear. Let's do it anyway.
I love
this
that.
is basically how I love my life right now.
Yeah, feel the fear and do it anyway. I think it's so interesting because when I talk to people all the time, whether it's about entrepreneurship or just doing, there's a million scary things. Walking up to somebody that you don't know at a party is scary. There's little scary things, big scary things, and they're all scary things. And I tell people all the time, it's not about getting over the fear. It's about realizing it, recognizing it, understanding that it's irrational, and doing it anyway, putting it in a box and just saying, okay, I'm going to do it anyway. And I love that perspective. I think more people need to understand that perspective. They think they can't do something until the fear is gone. Fear is always going to be there.
Yeah, no. The secret is to take a baby step. By the way, that's also in the book. Yeah, so we have like the 7 shades of fear, how to deal with certain types of anxieties, and just to take a baby step is usually the easiest way to get out of fear. No, I wanted to tell you, based on what Travis said, I think you're already an inclusive leader. You already know the ropes.
Well, I appreciate that. I was actually, this was back in my 20s. I was definitely pretty crappy back then. I think if I'm being honest, I've learned a lot since then. I think, honestly, for me, it helped a lot. Well, obviously making mistakes and learning from those, but also I think for me, like having kids actually helped me quite a bit because you learn empathy. And you learn that there's people you care about who have wildly different perspectives and emotions than you have. And they're still valid. And you care about them anyway. And you don't have the luxury of just disregarding them.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to live with those. You have to live with those wildly inconvenient people, called children. Right. And so you kind of start to stretch that muscle a little bit. And so I think that was part of the things that made me a little less selfish. I think my father told me, he's like, when you have kids, you realize how selfish you are. And so for me, that kind of broke me out of some of that, I think, self-centeredness that I think, I think I had in the moment. And so it helped me mature quite a bit. I was thrust into a leadership position when I was probably 24. I say thrust. I wanted it. I applied for it, right? I accepted it. But I was in a leadership supervisory position over, 24 people or something like that when I was like 24 years old. And there was a lot of different types of people, older, younger, people on the front end of their career, people on the back, side of their career, people, all sorts of experiences and strengths and weaknesses. And I just didn't take the time, I think, to understand the person. And it was like a call center environment. So in a call center environment, you have kind of pretty rigid policies and expectations, and that's it. There's not a lot of leeway for interpretation or for the human being, to be honest with you, in that scenario. And so there was a very high pressure, and I don't think I was my best self. And then now here, present day, I'm very fortunate because I'm surrounded by professionals that are good at what they do and that genuinely care about what they do. And so I think I'm having like a new lease on leadership right now.
Yeah, that's great. And we can always get better. Like for me, for example, going to India was eye-opening because before that, I thought having a personal conversation with somebody is a waste of time. And there I learned, that, it's actually quite helpful to have a personal conversation with my team in the morning.
I had the same thought too, Angie. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? That belief that a personal conversation was a waste of time. What was that rooted in, you think?
It was a very, technocratic approach to work, and a strong, we call it in interculture, we call it segmentation. So, you make a very strong differentiation between your personal life and your professional life. So, you're not allowed basically to have a personal conversation during work time, because work is work.
Right.
So, I needed to be on that international assignment to actually understand how it benefits when we have a trusted relationship, when we can talk about, our families and maybe the things that are bothering us when, before we got into work. So I had to move to another country to actually understand that better.
I'm so happy you brought that up. That was a major realization for me as well. I thought in order to be professional, one did not bring their personal life into the office.
Mm.
And I think it wasn't until much later in my life, as I kind of became more of an executive, and actually the CEO told me, he said, Ben, you should, hang some pictures of your family up in your office. I'm like, why? They're not here, that's not the place for them, let's not confuse the matter. Let's not muddy the subject here, right? It's one day I may have to fire you. I don't want you to know I have wife and children. I don't want to know yours either, But at the same time, people don't care about what you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And I was missing a major connection point with people, and a major motivational point. I mean, no matter how tightly you manage somebody, you might get 80% out of somebody. But if they are inspired to do the work and they feel connected, they feel like it's in their purpose, and they're bringing their whole self to work, and they feel like, a connection, this supports their family and it's part of their purpose here on, you're going to get 100, 110, 120% out of people. And I always thought if somebody was bringing up their family to me, they were about to ask for time off, or they were about to give me some reason why they were late to work or something. When I was in my 20s, I'm like, I thought it was they were just trying to deflect. So it's so interesting you bring that up, and it's such. And now it's we start every meeting with personal conversation.
Yeah. And for example, sometimes it's also just to know a bit more about the others, the people on your team. It just also helps to be better organized and to be able to support each other in stressful situations. Yeah, because we all have also different stories. We have different childhood stories. We have different triggers. So, one of the things that in the beginning of my managerial career, I sometimes just did not think about is that I would put meetings at 5 p.m. or at 9 when there was drop-off time at kindergarten. And because I didn't have kids, I didn't really think about that. I didn't really think that this could be stressful for somebody. So, these are the kind of things when, if you want to be more inclusive, you just talk about these things more. You talk about them more openly, and then you take them into account, and you're just more, let's say, you're more prepared for the individuals that you deal with. And even though I worked in human resources all of my life, I just hate that term.
Yeah.
I don't think we should think of people as resources. First of all, they're people. They have a value, and they come with their full person to work. No matter if we want that or not, if there is something going on in your personal life, let's say, somebody in your family has cancer. Yeah. Right. That is something that will probably stop you from working as productively as you did in the past. Or the other way around, you might just need your work colleagues to have a structure in these stressful times.
Yeah.
So, I'm all for opening up at work.
Yeah, it's a really great point. And Travis says having a personal connection is what will get results. Yes, correct. Christian Hall says business communications without connection are empty communications. Very interesting. And let's see here. I'm sorry. Did you want to respond to that? Go ahead.
No, Angie. I just wanted to say, in our industry, connection is so important as well. I mean, we're not in an industry that is we're not, neuroscientists or surgeons. No, I mean, we're working with people from dusk to dawn. So, showing your values to expats, for example, will also make them, be more open to you. Yeah. So, I think in our industry, we have to have big hearts.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing I've noticed about our industry is we're all very empathetic, caring, serving people. Great point, Christian. Let's see here. We got Jason Hall says, amen. When you have kids, you realize how selfish you really are. Yeah, my dad said that. Hosea Botley says, fear is focus. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, sometimes it makes it hard to focus when you're afraid too. So it's interesting how the body responds to fear, right? Fight or flight kind of thing. Richard says someone I know has made a big mistake at work today. Richard, are you talking about me? They feel terrible and have apologized to the line managers, etc. Do you have advice in such circumstances? Is the main thing that they regain their self-confidence now? Don't dwell on what they have done. I'm trying to offer them the best advice, almost therapy. Angie, let's give Richard some
Mm,
advice to give
mm,
someone else.
mm. Hard to say exactly what's going on, Richard. But first of all, I think if it's a very emotional situation, I would advise to get out of the situation first. Let everybody cool down. If it's about, for example, like you said, they made a mistake. Yeah. So maybe financial loss, some issue that will probably cost something, then I guess apologizing is already, the best thing to do. And, then also taking responsibility for solving the mistake or for making sure that this doesn't happen again. So, if it's a process issue, for example, compliance issue, what happened? What can we do to make it better? But in the, let's say, more personal issues, usually, what happens is like things escalate and then emotions explode. And there, I always advise to get out of the situation first, cool down, relax, do something for yourself, and then address the issue when you feel more in control again and more, in your grown-up state. So it depends really a bit on the situation and also, what state the person is. What you can do personally, Richard, is just to listen. And I would not even give too much advice. So maybe, think about, if you just listen, they will probably come up with their own good solution for the topic.
That's a good piece of advice in itself, is don't give advice. I think too often we rush to solve things. I know I do. Somebody starts opening up to me, with a problem or something that happened to them. I immediately rush to solve. And yet when people do that for me, I hate it. I'm like, you don't know the whole story. I was like, I'm just venting. I'm not necessarily expecting you to solve for me. So, Richard, I'm sorry that happened to your friend. I hope that was helpful there. Angie, I want to ask you, these are great threads that we're pulling here. And Richard appreciates the advice there, the advice. I wanted to ask you, tell me though, before we kind of go too far afield here, tell me about global people transitions and what is it that you do at your company?
Okay, so yeah, we basically we work with we work with expats. So our in the past, I also did global mobility projects inside companies. Yeah, so I'm a global mobility manager by background, in-house, but now I just focus on helping expats and expat partners with their careers mainly. Not so much with the day-to-day, what the relocation services usually cover, but I help with the intercultural challenges, but also leadership topics, leadership challenges, career decisions. Also maybe as a couple sometimes, or in a partnership, one has to take the lead occasionally, and then the other person needs to take the lead. So it's really about helping expats and nomads with their life and career decisions, basically.
All right. This is really interesting to me because as a person who's relocated many times, I've observed the changes in my spouse when we relocate. She's gotten much better at it, but it was very hard on her for a long time. Now she's adapted and kind of gained these kind of coping mechanisms, and she kind of has a game plan, and she's embraced it. She's learned to embrace it through trial and error. But my question is, does anyone ever talk to the kids involved? Is there any coaching or what can we do to ease it for the children?
So, some very advanced companies, I would say, they even offer intercultural training for kids. So I had the honor to, talk to 3-year-olds about their Swiss experience. And then, I'm more doing like little games, or we paint pictures. So it is a thing, but it's not as prominent, I would say, as intercultural coaching or training for grown-ups. I personally think it would be helpful to have more such offers. On the other hand, international schools also often have very good programs. So, once the children are in the international school system, then I don't think they have these bigger issues anymore, because they will talk about a lot of those topics at school. Where I'm a bit concerned would be more the smaller children. Like, for example, I'm just thinking about a 4-year-old coming from Germany to Switzerland, where the Swiss German dialect is very different from High German. And in kindergarten, they speak the dialect. So for him, it was like, this is a language I don't understand. And now, I'm supposed to play here. So, yeah, I think there's still more to be done for expat families in general. For also, there are certain areas that we don't really talk about that much in the industry. For example, like people my age now, we all have elderly parents and relatives. What do you do as an expat when your mother, your father suddenly needs help? Does the company support them coming over to where you are, or can you be at home for an extended period? So there's a lot of things we don't really talk that much about, but I think there would be more that needs to be addressed also in our policies a bit better.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Do you see elderly parents accompanying expats on assignments?
I think it's, at least that's something I've predicted for a while, with the streams changing. We have now a lot more expats, for example, from India, China, Brazil, like from, more relationship-oriented cultures. So they usually, would probably rather bring their parents and in-laws with them, especially if they go on a permanent transfer. Maybe not for 2-year assignment, but, also permanent transfers become so much more common now that, I think this is something companies need to address in their policies going forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. You bring up the children and the younger children being maybe the gap in the market. However, I have a theory that some of the reluctance to relocate later career that I observed is due to like teenage children and not wanting to uproot those teenage children from their social, friend groups that they have, and sports teams, schools that they've, whatever, and that people kind of reach an age or a window or a band in their career where they have these teenagers that, it just feels to me that we value the career of our children sometimes even more so than we value our own professional career. And it just doesn't seem like that was the way it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And it's just like, well, nope, mom and dad's got a new job somewhere and off we go, and that's it. And you don't have to say so and deal with it and adapt, And now, now families have changed, and the way that we look at the priorities in the family has changed. And I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to prepare teenagers to be more open-minded to relocating.
I think you definitely have a very good point. So I think generally, either the spouse, the partner, or teenagers would probably be needing a bit of convincing. And I also think it's oftentimes about involving them earlier in the process. And this is still something where I feel there's still a lot of resistance from global mobility managers, because they say, well, no, this is not our concern. It's the expats' problem, how to deal with their family. But just even, like including them in an email could probably make a difference. Or, bringing them on a look and see trip could make a difference. Yeah.
Well, including them in email. If you want to get them to read the email and actually take action on it, half the time you got to include the spouse, right? Because depending, for me, somebody wants me to do something, they better include my partner on it, right? This is interesting. Johanna saying, I'm an expat spouse since January of 2022. And I agree. There are many subjects dealt with in the international schools and spousal support, but there are still much more that needs to be done. Let's see. Aaron says, yep, uprooting kids, especially teens, is very tricky. It helps to have them on board and envisioned for the relocation. Speaking from personal experience here. Yeah, super cool. Very interesting stuff. I want to have a little fun here today. Angie, the Germans have a reputation for not being very fun. Angie, what's that about, Angie? I want to have fun today, Angie. Are we able to have some fun?
Yeah, I mean, you met me now, and obviously we're not having any fun at all. I think, there's a bit of a prejudice in the US. At least we sometimes see that in movies about Germans not having any humor. I think the Swiss are even further down that humor line. And I think it has to do with the coconut. Like on first encounter, we tend to be a bit standoffish. We don't usually smile at everybody. We are a bit suspicious of foreigners and people that we don't know. But also, I think our humor is a bit hard to understand for people who do not understand the language. So, the German humor is very much about irony and sarcasm. And sometimes even the Swiss people don't understand my humor. So, how would somebody who doesn't even speak the language get it?
So I love humor. I'm a big fan, at least my kind of humor. What do I need to know to understand, like, maybe German or Swiss humor? What am I missing? Like, can you give me like an example of how they differ? Is it possible to do that?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, I think it's to listen to, like statements where you wonder, is the person serious? It could be, that they're just sarcastic or it's irony. So that could be a trigger for humor.
Okay. So like when you said, I'm not sure if you're aware of our history, speaking about the Germans, I said, no, that was me being humorous in a very subtle way. But I don't know if anybody caught that or not. And I was like, let me let that go. Anyway. Okay. So very subtle, makes you wonder, kind of. So it's not like an over the top laughter. It's more of a, were you doing something there with that kind of little bit of
or
sarcasm?
like a subtle play on words, or like, yeah, that was not bad.
Got it. Okay. Rich is saying, totally agree with Angie. I've loved 3 years spent in Germany. Really, really good sense of humor. Thank you, Richard. Well, let's have some fun then, Angie.
Oh God.
What do you say? Oh God. What about that German sense of humor? Where is it, Angie? I've been hearing all about it.
Okay. Let's try.
Let's try to have some fun in a mutually humorous way. This is great. All right, we're gonna play a game today called Overrated, Underrated. Angie, do you know how to play the game?
I'm not sure. Tell me.
All right. It is very simple. There are only 2 rules. First, I will give you a topic and you will tell me if it is overrated or underrated.
Okay. Got it.
Second thing is I will tell you if you are correct.
Okay.
Which is funny.
What's the measure?
Me.
Okay. You're the game master. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is why it's funny, because you can't really be correct. It's an opinion, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, if you explain it, then it doesn't make it funny. All right. I digress. All right. Overrated, underrated. First topic is working from home. Ooh, what an explosive, divisive.
Overrated.
Topic. Overrated. Wow. Prepare for hate mail. Defend your position, Angie.
I think, after 3 years, pandemic and all, and being an entrepreneur, sometimes it's good to go somewhere else and get out of your pajamas occasionally.
Okay. Yeah, I got out of my pajamas today and it's been working out for me.
But you had a lunch appointment. That doesn't count.
Had I not eaten lunch today, Well, it wouldn't be much of a day. But
It seems like you
secondly,
have an office, so that makes a
I
big
do.
difference. Yeah.
I do have an office. Yeah. If I didn't get out of my pajamas and I came in, it would be awkward for Adam and Adrian and everyone else here. I'm a big fan of the office environment. I mean, there's drawbacks. Like, listen, I mean, commutes are, whatever. Although I kind of like my commute anyway. But yeah, I think it's a bit overrated too. What's the ideal work scheme for you,
I think 2
Angie?
days from home, 3 days from an office or hotel or
I
traveling.
like it. Yeah, I like it. Sounds good. This is great. Richard is sending jokes. This is fantastic. We'll see if we have time for those. Richard getting me in trouble. Sherry saying, yes, agree with Angie. This is funny. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious, Richard. All right. Next one. I agree with you, Angie, by the way, on this one. You are correct. Next one. The classical notebook on paper, writing on paper, pen and paper.
Underrated.
Underrated.
Mhm.
Why? You don't have one of those tablets with the stylus and goes into
I
the cloud and
I
analyzes it and
I
AI
do.
tells you?
I have a like iPad. I write all my coaching notes with the stylus now, but I still feel, when you want to do something like, go on a journey, on like a self-discovery, or just sometimes to keep things together, a notebook is just amazing, like a physical notebook.
Yeah.
Plus, the batteries never go off.
I
They
like
never break down. They never disappoint you.
sounds like a song. I like notebooks too. I'm a paper person. I do these weird things. I don't know if you do this kind of stuff. I do these things where I just like, I don't know if you can see this, but like I
Mhm.
like just scribble notes. I scribble pictures. I cross stuff out. I doodle.
Mm.
Do the Germans doodle? It doesn't seem practical enough.
I mean, we take notes seriously, obviously.
Very, very
Occasionally, we
serious
might
notes.
doodle too. If it's a
Very.
very boring meeting, yeah, why not?
I don't know. It doesn't even mean it's boring for me. It's like a way that my brain it's like dreaming. It's like a way
Yeah,
that my brain organizes
yeah,
information.
yeah.
This is great. Sherry says, agree again. Love notebooks too. Look at
Cool.
this. Nori says, underrated. He's got his own little shorthand. Underrated. That's fantastic. I tend to agree with you. You're 2 for 2, Angie. This is great. All right. Well,
Okay, let's see.
don't get too full of yourself. Yeah, we got 3 more to go here. You can
Oh,
still fail the test here.
what am I
Okay.
going to win at the end, by the way?
Very little. Next, MS Teams calls. Microsoft
Okay,
Teams.
totally overrated.
Yes, it is overrated. You are 100% correct. It is overrated. Why is it overrated, Angie?
You don't know how many times I get this in coaching sessions. Like, we have to really debrief people from the MS Teams calls drama. I think it's overrated because it has just become too much. Like, our brain is not able to handle 8 hours on MS Teams calls. No, not anymore.
So really, this is not Teams the program as much as the idea of video conferencing calls throughout the day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But for some reason on Teams, it's harder than on Zoom.
Oh, why do you think that is?
I don't know. It may be just the technology, the computers, the headphones. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is maybe more the banking environment, or like some environments where Microsoft is just more prominent. Yeah.
Yeah, Teams is annoying to me.
Mm.
Well, we use an equally or probably exceedingly annoying platform called Ring Central. So we get that all the time from people. But I mean, Teams is so annoying. Every time you log into Teams, I need a budget like 2 minutes additional just for Teams to load on my computer and like boot. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, you're doing good today, Angie.
Mm.
I honestly did not expect you to be 3 for 3 at this juncture. Let's see
Wow.
how it ends.
Oh my God.
Overrated, underrated. Oktoberfest.
Well, now we'll see. In my opinion, Oktoberfest is overrated.
You know what? I have an equally strong opinion having never been.
Mhm.
And I think you're wrong. Having never been to Oktoberfest in my life, it can't possibly be overrated. I want to
Yeah,
go
okay.
so bad. Why is it
have
overrated?
empirical research. I've been there, done that, bought a Dirndl just for this, you know. But honestly, it's like a bunch of drinking people with beer that is too big to hold.
Sounds
It's
great.
very expensive, and I mean, you can go to like a downgraded version somewhere in New York City and you probably have more fun. I mean,
Beer
I'm
too big
talking
to
about the
hold?
real Oktoberfest, you know, the
Sounds
one
like
in
the
Munich.
American dream. Look at this. Jana says, no, Angie. I know, right? We liked Angie. What happened? This took a turn.
Yeah.
Well, I've
probably.
never
I
been.
probably have to, you know, give away my passport now.
So this is
Because
Oktoberfest
that
is
hit
actually
me.
Oktoberfest is actually in September, right? Is it coming up?
Yeah, it's probably now, like in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Oh man, sounds
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
but
Sorry.
you're saying skip it. You're saying it's overrated. I
Yeah.
have to take your word for it, I guess.
Wine fests are a lot better. There are a lot of good
Well,
wine fests in Germany.
what kind of wine is in Germany?
Any wine, white, red, champagne, you can rosé. So that would
Okay.
be my recommendation as a German, to skip Oktoberfest, but try a wine fest instead,
Maybe get a little Riesling or something, maybe.
for example.
Yeah, very nice. Little Rhone. Okay. All right. Well, so far you are 3 for 4. It's
No
absurd. This is an
chocolate for
absurd
me
game.
today.
It's an absurd game. Overrated, underrated. Last one. Zurich Film Festival.
Well, I think it's totally underrated. I already talked Adam into joining next year. You just have to give him some time off, because
And a lot
this
of
is going to
cash.
be the most amazing time of his life, where he's going to see a lot of great movies and maybe do video interviews with superstars that you normally don't get to see in person.
Yeah, or maybe he'll enter a GLOMO movie, a short, perhaps.
Yeah. Plus, I live very close, you know, so you can all stay with me, and then, you know, you can walk to the film festival from
This
here.
is becoming more affordable. I'm enthused here. This is great. Camilla says, agreed. Wine festivals are better. Don't change my mind. Hashtag don't change my mind. That's great.
Thanks, Camilla.
Very, very good. You know what? I agree. The Zurich Film Festival is underrated because I had not heard of it before. So
Nobody
I'm
knows about
I'm
it.
excited about it. Adam and I will be couch surfing at your place next year. When is the Zurich Film Festival?
End of September, early October.
Oh, hey, Adam, we could make that this year, I think.
They have a Twitter account too.
Oh, they got a
It's
Twitter
not
account.
called Twitter anymore. It's now X.
That's not ominous.
No.
This has been a lot of fun, Angie. Contrary to popular belief, the Germans can have fun. On this, you know what? On that note, we're gonna tell Richard's bad joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We're gonna do it
please
here.
do.
Richard said, "Here's one, not very politically correct, perhaps. Why are the avenues in Paris lined with trees? Because Germans like to march in the shade." Wow, Richard. Wow. I don't make the jokes. I just read them. Oh my goodness, I'm canceled. This is great. Angie, Angie, this has been a lot of fun. I've learned, I've laughed, I've made travel plans, but I'm going to ask you, leave us with maybe just a final thought, something we should be thinking about today.
Sorry, say that again.
Would you leave us with a final thought, something you'd like us to just kind of think about today?
Coming back to, you know, the topic of being inclusive, I really think, you know, we can also, every one of us in our industry, we can make a contribution. So you recently had Relocate the Profit here, and this is what we do. You know, we talk to each other, we support each other, we help each other, and we're trying not to live the typical cutthroat competition. I think we can all, you know, monitor rainbow talents, women, more junior talents in our industry. And I think every one of us could just be, you know, like sharing a bit more, being a bit more supportive of other people, because I really think this is critical and important. And yeah, we will, you know, we will move further as a community if we all
I agree.
contribute a bit more.
I agree. It reminds me of a proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And when you talk about doing things together as an industry, and shout out to Relocate the Profit. It's a great cause. It's a great idea of how we can kind of collectively support things. And it encourages us to remember that we can all make an impact, and just takes a little bit of action. So thank you for bringing that full circle for us, Angie. And thanks for being here today. Angie Weinberger here, founder, managing director, Global People Transitions in Zurich. Always has a couch for everybody out there wanting to come see the Zurich Film Festival or Wine Festival, perhaps. Thank you, Angie. Thanks for being here today. We appreciate it so much.
Been a pleasure.